folks. Anything triggering you lately?
Triggering me? What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, what's got you like? What is our country doing right now that's just got you put off? How are you handling the
You mean
impeachment?
politically or like me
Yeah,
personally or what?
no, culturally, politically. I mean, how you're doing personally, I'm assuming is your own business. I don't
Yeah.
want to pry.
Let's not waste too much time.
I don't know. I
Right.
mean,
You have Anavultus
impeachment
now.
stuff I'm totally bored with. Who honestly cares about this crap?
There it
I-
is.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
have
I'm
no
looking.
interest in talking about that.
Good.
Yeah.
All right,
Anavultus.
So, Anavultus,
Well,
Yep.
Matt,
Good eye,
Matt,
mateys. Good eye.
Anavultus.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's good being here.
How have you been, sir?
I've
Yeah,
been
it's
doing
a
well.
while.
Yeah, I recently published a book, so hopefully
I
that
heard
sells well.
about that.
Yes, absolutely.
And what can you tell us about that book?
Okay, the name of the book is Actionable Justice. I wrote it in preparation for a debate that I and John had originally scheduled to have today, but we're not going to have that. But
Yeah.
it's about justice and the nature of justice and how that relates to nature. That's another element which we will be discussing tonight with Matt Christiansen a little bit. And also questions of ethics and such things.
All right. So, Anavultus, do you want to state your criticisms of what of Matt's video? I'm not sure if you watched the video that I sent Matt, but in
No,
case you
I'm
had.
coming into this cold.
Okay, so yeah, if you just want to kind of give him the base criticisms, and then we'll let Matt respond to that.
Okay, my basic criticism of natural rights and natural law is that it is inconsistent with what we observe to be true in how governments are operated. In that, in my view, rights and laws generally originate from positions of authority, and to say that they originate from nature itself ends up being a non sequitur because of the is to ought problem.
Do you want to
Okay.
explain what the is to odd is real quick?
Okay, so the is to ought problem is a question of ethics where you can say that something is true, but the question then is, does that make it right? Just because something is true in a certain way doesn't mean that it is ethically correct.
Okay. I mean, I'm not sure I understand the structure here.
Okay, here's an example. So let's say
Well, wait. I guess I'm curious. Is John
No.
moderating? Are you?
I'm just trying to make
no,
sure.
this isn't a debate. This is just
yeah,
a
it's not
discussion.
debate.
Well,
It's just-
okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
feel free
It seems like
to.
we're being very formal with like here's my stated
Well, no, it's
criticism.
funny.
Now is your time for your response.
No, no.
No, from that
Yeah.
perspective, the thing that I think is well, let's put it this way: do you believe in a such thing as objective right and wrong? Or are those merely social creations?
I believe that they are objective as they relate to objective authorities.
So only authority creates right and wrong.
Yes.
So there is no universal right or wrong.
Well, if there is a universal authority, then there is a universal right and wrong. If there is not a universal authority, then there is not a universal right and wrong.
What would a universal authority be?
Well, classically, as for example, Thomas Aquinas and John Locke, who are the originators of the natural law theory and the natural rights theory, surmised that the reason why nature to them was relevant was because it was created by an almighty God. So classically speaking, a universal authority would be a deity.
would be a god.
Well, then we're actually kind of on the same page. That is to say, if you believe that a universal right and wrong would originate with some sort of universal higher power, in this case, either nature or God himself, I don't think we're that far off. That's what I'm saying is that right and wrong originate with what we can observe about our purpose in nature. And that's what John Locke said as well.
Yes, but how do you determine what your purpose is?
By what we all do naturally.
Yes, but that again comes to the issue, because at this point it's a non sequitur, because just because something is natural doesn't mean that it is good.
Okay, give me an example.
An example is that I would say, let's say, sexuality, okay? And to an extreme, if you give in to sexual urges to an extreme, you could end up raping someone. And
No, I think at a base level, what is the purpose of sexuality?
well, that would be dependent on any authority to purpose the sexuality in the first place.
We really can't observe a purpose for sexuality without consulting an authority?
Yes. Now, there's a difference between a function and a purpose. So a function is something that is accomplished through sexuality, and a purpose is something that would be that a purpose requires agency. It requires someone to have purposed something.
The purpose of sexuality is reproduction.
I would say
And-
that is...
And rape would be a betrayal of the purpose of sexuality, therefore immoral.
Yes, but I would say that although I would agree that rape is not part of the purpose of sexuality, I believe that, and also that it does not consist with the logical function of sexuality, I believe that for you to say that rape is against the purpose of sexuality, you would have to say that someone would have to purpose it to be that way. Because otherwise, who's to say that it isn't wrong?
Well, you're saying someone, and I'm saying nature. Observably in nature, everybody has the purpose, the innate desire, the innate drive to survive, to build property, to build a life for themselves. Rape violates not only the purpose of sexuality, but it violates that other person's purpose. Their purpose to build their own life uninterrupted by your unjust aggression.
Well,
We don't have to consult like some god. We can observe these truths in nature.
Well,
And it
I would
might
say
be,
that...
I don't know. I'm not trying to make an atheistic argument.
Well, what I'm saying here is that to say that nature gives us a purpose would be to say that nature itself justifies these things. And I would say that it is not a sequitur answer, because...
Can you put that in more layman terms when you say non sequitur? What's the
it does not
non-sequitur?
follow from the premise. So just because you do something naturally, just because something has a natural function, doesn't mean that it is correct. And from a philosophical standpoint, for example, and this is a religious viewpoint which has to be addressed at least in some way. For example, Christians generally believe that there is a corruption in the human nature, and therefore that to follow your nature 100% would be, in fact, not moral. So
No, you're saying follow your nature. I'm saying follow the purpose that drives you naturally. Those are, and what you're talking about is outliers too. If we're talking about like an urge to rape, that's not necessarily a commonly observed urge.
We see that in many animals in the wild.
But we're talking about humans. Humans
Yes.
have the capacity.
Well, humans do that too.
In generally speaking, or in outliers.
I would say, generally speaking, we see this for all cultures throughout history.
People have the urge to rape.
Well, if I could, I would throw out there that in a sense, if we go back, because what it sounds like you're talking about, Matt, is like our instinctual desires, the things that drive us instinctually, which if we go back far before more civilized times, well, yeah, instinctually, the cavemen, the Neanderthals, they were doing these kind of things before we civilized.
Well, I say that people are still doing this.
Yeah, not only
Right,
that, but you can point to historical times as well, especially during a war, especially during a siege, when someone's taking over a town, women get raped during those times.
Yeah, and it's wrong.
And
it's objectively wrong, not because of it.
But what makes it wrong?
Right, but the point is that they don't have the authority telling them not to, and the argument, at least I think that Anavultus is making, is that without the authority, people will revert to their natural instincts, which would be, in his case, rape.
Maybe, maybe not. But what I worry about that perspective is you're saying the rape is only wrong because an authority said so or not. If no authority exists to say that's wrong, it's not actually wrong.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
And,
Right. That is a world that is built upon moral relativism, where it's only
Well,
because
no, it's
a
not
guy in
relativistic, though.
power. Yeah, it is. It's just because a guy or a structure of power has said that's wrong, therefore it is. Absent the structure of power, anything goes, and there's no possible way
Well,
to mistreat
that's the
another person or
Judeo-Christian
yourself.
worldview.
No, I don't think it is. I think you think that Christians would say that it's only government.
Well,
that
no,
establishes
they
right
would
and
say
wrong?
it would be God, and then
Right, but that's. I think in this context we can use God and nature interchangeably.
I disagree. Because
You wouldn't think that John Locke would agree with that statement?
well, I would agree that John Locke would agree with that statement, because I know that this is a statement that John Locke agrees with, because John Locke believed that nature had a moral lesson to teach people because God created it to do so. However, that is simply putting a middleman in between the creature and the authority, which would be God in this instance. Now, if you take John Locke's argument and you remove nature from it, it is still a coherent argument. But if you remove God from it, then it becomes an incoherent argument.
No, I don't agree at all. I think you can observe people's natural drive in nature absent God. God could be a portion of it. There could be a creator reason for that. But I don't think that you have to surmise God to observe there is something that humans are naturally driven to do that nobody actually chooses.
Yes,
and that is
but
to survive.
The question is, why is it good just because people have a drive to do it? What makes
Because it's
that good?
natural. Yeah, because it's natural.
And what makes nature good?
Because that's the only objective basis we can build our world upon. That's it. Otherwise, you're just inventing things on the spot and everything's totally subjective.
I disagree, because I believe...
What other objective basis is there to build the world upon other than what we can observe in nature?
Well, authorities exist objectively.
What do you mean? Hierarchies?
Yes. There's people that have power, people that punish people when they do bad things. There's courts that are established. Nature does not establish courts of law.
Is it possible that a court of law could do something morally wrong?
If a higher authority deems it to be wrong, then I would say that it is wrong. If not, then I would say it's not.
Is the Supreme Court capable of doing wrong?
If it is against God, I would say it would be wrong.
What if God doesn't exist?
Then it would not be wrong.
Not capable of doing wrong?
Exactly.
Ever? Okay.
Yes. Because that's how society functions.
At least you're consistent, but I think the premise that the highest human power structure determines moral reality is incredibly dangerous. And we can agree on whether that's philosophically sound or not. Do you see the danger in that structure, where it's just an authority figure deciding
to say
what's
that
right
it
or
is
wrong?
dangerous would be to imply that you have a moral code presupposed beyond that.
Yes. Morality pre-exists government and power structures.
Yes, I would disagree, because I believe in God. Therefore, necessarily, I have to say that power structures and authority pre-exist morality.
Well, again, then I think we're actually kind of on a similar page here. You're saying God, I'm saying nature. I don't know that there's that much of a distinction there.
Well, there's a distinction. Because John Locke himself made the distinction, as well as Thomas Aquinas. They both believed that nature could only have a moral force to it if it had a higher power behind it. Now, that being said, the reason why authorities are relevant to power is because authorities are the only way justice can be actuated. That is to say, actionable justice, which means that justice is not only a set of principles, but is also the execution thereof. And nature does not hold courts of justice, and nature does not have a police force that it sends in to punish people that go around raping people.
No,
but instead,
that's not the question, though. The question is, are those things objectively right or wrong. And you're saying that it's God that determines that. I'm saying that it's nature. I think in this context, those are more or less interchangeable.
Well, what I'm
There's a
saying
reason that
is,
they're called. There's a reason that they're called God-given rights that pre-exist governments. And I think you, given what you just said, you'd agree with that sentiment.
well, what I'm
Those
saying
are what we
is
call natural rights. What's wrong in that
is
line of
that
reasoning?
laws and rights are only relevant at all if there is an enforcement for them.
No, absolutely not. Only if they're enforced do they
Yes.
become right or wrong? Really?
Yes, because otherwise there's no purpose.
Well,
Well, that-
I think
that-
doesn't this go back to the argument that if a thing sits there and nobody calls it something, it's not a thing. It doesn't exist because nobody's called it a rock, right? It's just there. It's mass, but we name it. So yes, authority
getting away with
puts the boundaries on rules and morals that
I
we have
suppose,
to
but
act.
that doesn't define the morality. It just gives it an enforcement.
Well,
mechanism.
let me give an example from the idea of, let's say, a god. Let's say, hypothetically, a god exists, but he never says that anything is going to be punished, even though he puts out things that he says, this is wrong, that's wrong, and the other thing is wrong. And he never, ever says that he's ever going to judge or punish anyone ever at all. Is the authority of that god relevant in any way? And I would say,
think about it. Yes, think about it in the context of a parental environment. Your dad never teaches you to beat your sister up. You beat your sister up. Is it wrong?
if an authority has said that it is wrong, yes.
No, it's wrong whether your dad told you to or not. Now, your dad
Yeah,
might
but
be
how would
bad
you
at
know that
guiding
then?
you. Well, again, that might be your dad's fault, but it's the act of beating your sister is still morally wrong.
Yes, but how do you know exactly that beating your sister is morally wrong? What if
Because it
beating your
violates her
sister gives you
purpose.
an advantage in nature?
No, it violates her purpose, which is the whole point that I've built in the video.
Yes, but how exactly do you exactly determine what that purpose is?
Because of what your natural drive is, to survive, to build a life for yourself.
Yes,
all
but
the
what
things
if I
we talked
told
about.
you that you're sort of prioritizing an idea of altruism, that is to say that you believe that we shouldn't violate each other's purpose? But what if I said that I had an egoist idea that violating others' purposes, if it makes me more powerful, benefits me, and that therefore I should do that? I think that's another valid
objectively wrong.
interpretation of nature.
I think that that's objectively wrong. And I
How
don't think
so?
it matters what an authority, because you're violating someone else's purpose. You're taking advantage.
Yes, but why should I respect somebody else's purpose?
Because that's why that person was put on this earth.
And who determines what that purpose is?
Our natural drive, the thing that we observe everyone doing,
So-
which is that
so-
drive to survive, that drive to build property, that drive
Well,
to build a
you
life.
say this person put on this earth,
Yeah.
and you say that there's a purpose behind that.
Yes.
So who is the one that determines what that purpose is?
We can all observe it. We're watching ourselves do it right now.
I'm trying to get very specific here. What exactly determines the purpose of that person if that person is put on the earth? If
What we all observe. What we observe every person doing every day.
well, I can say
Surviving,
that
building a life for themselves.
what I
building
observe is, and I read a lot of history, what I observe is that systems of authority are the way that our society enforces its principles.
Yes and no, but the point is the whole purpose of this discussion is that there are natural, God-given, however you want to characterize them, rights that pre-exist those authority structures that determine whether those authority structures are doing the right thing or the wrong thing. And based on what I heard, I thought I understood from you earlier, you seem to grant the idea that there is a such thing as a God-given morality, is there not?
Yes, I do agree with that.
So then we actually do agree. There's a God-given, again, God in a general sense. You could substitute the term nature if you want, but a structure of morality that pre-exists government, right? We agree on that?
Yes. However, I would say that it is not something that we can say is inherently true, but rather something that we understand through our knowledge of what has happened in the world. But I will
Well,
say,
I think we disagree on the origin of the knowledge. Then I think we observe that through man in a state of nature.
yeah,
You
but
think we observe that through a
here's
series
the
of
exact
government
problem I'm
structures that we've
having.
built.
The
But
exact problem
I
I'm
don't think
having.
that's a meaningful distinction. I think that's just talking about, I don't know. I suppose how we learned the information, not whether or not the information is true.
Well, the problem I'm having here is that you're saying that nature determines what is good. Now, for that to be true, nature itself would have to be good.
And
So
you're
how
saying
is
God
nature
determines
itself
that.
good besides itself?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, you're making the same argument with substituting God for the word nature.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is that God is relevant in an ethical sense only if God goes and punishes people for disagreeing or for disputing what is occurring morally. Similarly to how a government is only
So
truly
if someone gets
sovereign if
away
it.
with murder, the murder's not wrong?
Excuse me?
If someone gets away with murder without punishment, is the murder wrong?
If the person is never ever punished, and then therefore, yes, I would have to say that that would be true.
It's not wrong, really?
If
So
if there's
then
no
there is no
internal,
pre-existing morality structure.
yes, it is
But
entirely
I thought you
determined.
said God.
Well,
Now
God.
I'm just totally lost, to be honest.
Well, what I'm saying is that morality and the moral codes are an artifice created by systems of power. And this is something that is very observable in our world
I
that we
think
live
we
in.
actually agree on that. I would say that the moral structure is observable in or created by nature.
Well,
And you're saying
I would
observable in or
disagree
created by
because
God.
I believe that there's different possible interpretations of nature. As I said, there's an altruistic and an egoistic interpretation. And I don't think that there's any way that you could objectively prove that one is better than the other.
I think you have to accept the premise that that the objective, observable drive of humanity, the objective, observable drive of any given person on this planet. Again, there are outliers. There are weird psychopaths who do weird psychopathic stuff. But in general, the natural drive that we all have to survive, build families for ourselves, build property for ourselves, that is an objective good. You have to accept that premise.
I don't accept that premise.
Okay, but then what's the point of anything? I mean, that's
The point of anything is that there are authorities that purpose things, not that there are.
There is wait. There is no human purpose but for the authority assigning it one.
Yes, exactly.
But by the authority, you mean God.
Not just God, but it can also be the government. It can be parents in a family. It can be the individual
But you
exercising
said it's
self-control.
only the supreme authority that matters.
I believe that all authorities matter to some extent, insofar as they have power.
But they can all be overridden by the supreme one.
Yes.
And you say that's created by God.
Yes.
Or God is the supreme authority.
Yes,
I think nature is the supreme authority. Therefore, nature determines objective morality.
Yes, but nature doesn't give you set precepts. In other words,
I think it does. I think you can observe objective truths in nature.
I disagree. I don't think that's objective. I think that's subjective.
What's not objective?
I think that the morality that you're deriving from nature is subjective because it goes into the is to ought problem. Because just because something is natural doesn't mean that it is true. It's the naturalistic fallacy.
There is no objective basis for morality otherwise.
I would say that authorities objectively exist. And if they objectively punish, then their authority and therefore their morality is objective.
Yeah, but I would have to disagree that those in power are objective. I mean, they typically are not. Just like I don't agree that morals can really be objective because we individually have subjective morals. So, I mean, that's my biggest argument against natural rights is, we all have subjective morals here in what we see as right or wrong, even though we're all just animals. But yeah.
Well, again, and I understand that maybe some people aren't satisfied with that, with the explanation of why natural rights are in fact natural. And as I mentioned in the video, normally I would not go to strictly a let's look at the outcomes of the alternative, because that's not an inherently satisfying argument. I don't think it's sufficient in and of itself. But the other point I do want to touch on, we touched on it a little bit earlier, but I think we should get into it with the time that I do have. If you accept these premises, that there is no objective morality, it's only authority structures, and by the way, human authority structures, not necessarily divine ones, not necessarily God, just human authority structures that determine right and wrong. You create a society in which 51% of people, or the king, decide what right and wrong is. Your head can be chopped off without any moral implications, so long as the proper authority structure agrees. That's an incredibly dangerous standard for society. Do we not
Well,
agree
that's
on
the
that?
society we live in.
No, it's not.
It is. It's objective
No, it's
throughout
not.
history.
No,
We-
you have not in the United States of America. That's not the society.
Well, what I'm saying is that what people don't do when they make laws is they ask some sort of spirit of nature as to what exactly they do. What they do is they have authorities like the government, and they make rules, and then when people break the rules, they punish the people that break the rules as far as they can find them anyway.
I know, but what I'm saying is the morality of those arrangements isn't formed by the power side to create, by the punishment mechanism that they decide to implement. It's formed by the nature of your humanity that preexists all of that.
Well, if that were true, then how come there's so many different systems of jurisprudence around the world?
Because there's a lot of people struggling for power, and they're wrong.
What makes them wrong?
Because they're violating other people's purpose.
And this goes back to the initial question: how do we exactly determine what their purpose is?
We observe what everyone's doing on a daily basis and has throughout history.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that your observation on that is ultimately a subjective observation.
I really don't think it is. I think you can name some outliers, but in a general sense, what do you think everybody's doing? What are you doing? What am I doing? Is there no commonality to that, or are we all just random things floating around in space?
Well, I do believe that there's a commonality, because I do believe that a God exists who created all of us, who gave us consciences and things like that. But what I'm saying is that, however, does not follow from the point that nature is what determines this, because any rule that you establish, for example, not to rape, not to steal, not to kill each other, all those things are seen in nature.
That you have to grant the purpose that each one of us was put here for you have to grant the premise, rather, that each one of us was put here for a purpose. Do we agree on that premise?
Not if that's purpose by nature, no.
See, that one I have a tough time dealing with. And that's because I go back to this idea that we are nothing but just another species of animal. And there is no purpose other than being part of the circle of life. We just managed to think our way to the top of the food chain. We're just smarter than the other animals. We just got a little something different. That's so it's tough for me to swallow.
I can see how you get there. Do you share the concerns about the implications of that sort of worldview? How ripe that is for abuse, I suppose.
Well, I see the implications that, like when we get into these points that we are of divisiveness in this country, where people start leaning towards that more anarchical mindset, get a little crazy and extreme. Now, again, it's mostly outliers. It's a lot of outliers, but yeah, it's, without being part of a group, a civilization, a community, no, you really don't have a purpose. You would just go out there. Yeah, the purpose to shelter, food, live.
Yeah,
those would be your things, right?
There's something that's driving you to do that, whatever it is. There's something that's pushing you.
Yes, but just because there's something driving you to do that doesn't mean that thing is good.
Right, well, because you'll do whatever you have to do to get the food, right? It doesn't matter what you kill. Some people would even resort to killing their own kind and cannibalism, right?
Yeah,
but you're in that case you're establishing a need. It's this. We could make the same argument about killing in self-defense, right? You're establishing a need. What is it that you're pursuing when you're doing that? Your own survival.
Survival, right?
But there's people that don't pursue their own survival. what I'm saying is,
an
not
outlier.
many,
Like who
yeah.
are these people who don't
Well,
pursue their own survival? Ill
you,
people?
you can't say that it's an outlier if you're going for an objective morality, because if it's an objective morality,
who are these
then
people that don't
all
pursue their own
outliers are
survival?
relevant.
That's not an outlier?
That's not an outlier, because if it
Who
is,
are
if you
they?
just
Who's
dismiss
this
that,
massive group?
then your morality isn't objective.
I need to know who this massive group of people is that don't pursue their own survival.
There's a lot of people that commit suicide every year.
Outlier. Massive outlier.
I'm not going to say millennials, but I'm just saying.
I mean, we're talking about ill people. There's a lot of people who die young for any number of reasons. We're talking about ill people who have problems. We're not talking about your normal person.
But
We're
how
not
do you
talking about
determine that they have problems? What's wrong with killing yourself?
what's wrong with killing yourself?
Exactly.
Is you're violating your own purpose.
But who gets to decide that purpose?
It's naturally within you.
That doesn't really follow.
Yeah, it does. Again,
Well, yeah, he is
It
right.
does
I mean,
follow.
if you just lay down on the sidewalk and say, I'm not going to do anything else, I'm not going to go get water, not going to go get food, your body is still going to try and continue on. It doesn't
Yeah.
just say,
Yeah, but why should you
fuck
listen
it."
to your body?
because that's the
Well,
only objective thing in the world that we can listen to. Otherwise, it's just, why don't we just bounce off the walls and be nonsense creatures floating on a rock in space and not have any coherence to the universe whatsoever? I mean, if we don't start from what we can observe in nature, how do we make sense of the world?
would it be possible that that Anavultus, that maybe what you're saying is that we as a species need someone to give us purpose, because if we don't have someone giving us purpose, we would all sit around and feel purposeless. I mean, just
I don't
sitting
think
and
that's true.
surviving.
Yeah.
No, you have a need for more. You
Purpose
have
is
a
something
want, a
that
desire for
requires
more, and it just
agency.
is.
What's that? Say that again.
Purpose is something that requires an agent, someone with agency. Nature does not have
Um,
agency.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I
what's
don't
the
think
purpose
so,
of the tree
yeah.
out there? What's the purpose
Well,
of the rain
right.
falling from the sky? Those don't have agency, but they clearly have purpose.
Right. I mean, the
Well,
purpose
to
for
the
mosquitoes
lumberjack
to
who's
get
cutting
eaten
down
by
the tree has a purpose.
No. I mean, to every breathing being in the world, the tree had purpose. Not
Yes,
just to the
but
human harvester.
if all that existed were simply a tree, and no one else, nothing at all, would the tree still have purpose?
It has purpose in the context of this world, but I think that's also true for humanity.
Exactly. There's a context that is needed to give it purpose, and I would say that the context.
But it's not human created. It's a natural context.
I would disagree, because if nature were simply a tree, and you're saying that doesn't give it a purpose.
Does a tree have a natural purpose prior to humanity's discovery and labeling of that purpose?
I think trees have natural functions. I don't think that they have natural purposes on their own.
What would be the distinction?
The distinction between a function and a purpose is, a function is something that it does something that physically would occur with the tree. A purpose is something that it is meant to do, which is different, because that implies that somebody purposed it.
Give me an example of a tree's. Give me an example of a tree's function that is not a purpose.
For anything that a tree naturally does, such as grow, the leaves falling, the tree dying, those are things that naturally happen to a tree.
What would an example of a tree's purpose be?
A tree's purpose would be if someone planted the tree for the lumber industry, or if somebody planted the tree for decorative purposes.
That tree. Something did.
Yes, well, I do believe that originally
so it has
God would have created it, and therefore it has a purpose, because there's an authority behind it.
It has a purpose.
Yeah, I would have to agree that it all has a purpose, like to interconnect and make all the pieces of the part work, right? There's a purpose there, but there's not individual purpose anymore. It's pieces of the part. Or does that create a function? Is that just everything's functioning in the environment, in
yes,
nature?
I think that's a very important philosophical distinction to make. A distinction between the functions and the purpose of something.
I don't know. I'm not seeing the distinction here, but I gotta wrap it up.
Yeah. Yeah, we got something coming up at 8 anyway.
No, we don't. Do we
We
really?
do, yeah.
Okay. Well,
Uh,
it's been great talking to you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for
If
the
you ever
talk.
want to talk again sometime, feel free to hit me up.
Sure.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be something this serious. It can be something less serious. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Invite him over for a cookout. He's always fun to
Anything
cook.
else before I'm out of here? How do I? Let's see. Before I go, I will contribute to.
Oh, well,
We're in-
thank you. Yes.
Yes, it's in our
Speaking of that,
description.
it's in the description. Speaking of that, while you guys were having your conversation, Seawall, our very own Seawall, donated $200.
Wow.
Now we're at 730.
Wow.
It's awesome. We're getting closer.
I believe that is our all-time high for charity.
Yes, it
at
is.
this
Yeah.
point. I'm glad to hear it. Seawall, the man. And it's
I
what's the
mean-
total again now?
730.
730
730.
bucks.
Nice. I like that number. That's a number I can get behind, and not in a gay way. I'm just.
Right. I don't know. Are numbers
Uh,
gendered?
What's
Uh,
the referral here? Referred by.
I'm-
All right, whatever. I'm
No,
just
I
gonna-
don't. The generational gap. That's probably what it
yeah.
is. Who sent you? Just in case there's a team working on the charity, then you can put who referred you to the charity. Blah blah blah.
Gotcha.
It's for tracking purposes. It's bookkeeping stuff. Nothing you need to worry about. We're not showing anybody the books. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
come
got
on.
some drop down menu that's like who
Yeah.
referred you.
Oh, I guess I could fill that stuff in next time. I don't know.
Well, we know who referred. I guess not necessarily. Yeah, we do have people.
He doesn't know who we are. Matt
Yeah,
doesn't know
sure.
who we are.
I've been on the
He
show
just-
before. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
he is.
I'm messing with
Just
you.
fucking with you.
You're
I know he
still
knows
our,
who I am, though, for sure.
you're still our example stream, I believe. You're still our example
Yeah,
stream
you're
on
still
our
pinned.
demo stream from way back in
Yeah.
the day.
I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Some big names.
All right. Let's see if this goes through.
Oh, you gonna get a charge back?
Uh,
You're gonna
is
get
that-
a
is that okay on this platform?
Yeah.
He's about to get a phone call. Sir,
Yeah.
someone just
I'll
All
say
right,
that.
yeah, I think
from
that went
Zimbabwe.
through.
From Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah,
you make a purchase in
let me just say,
Zimbabwe?
if anybody else wants to have a more deeper look into what I'm saying, you can read my book. It's got a whole chapter about this exact issue.
Yeah. Anavultus, if you want to send us links to your channel and the book, we'll put them in the description. So
Okay.
people can access them.
Brandon. Hey, Matt, before you go, but
Yeah.
if you've got anything going on, fun stuff going on
you're
that you want to
getting
shout out.
No. I mean, you know my thing, man. I'm just doing the same thing all the time, man. I'm doing. We do the stream every Sunday night, and I'm trying to do videos twice a week, and that's about it. Other than
Yeah.
that, I'm just.
Yeah, I mean, most of our audience watches you, so. I mean, that's where we got. Yeah, we
you
got a
know,
lot of subscribers from when you were on the first time.
I'm trying to be the king of consistency. That's all. I don't have any special plans, but I'm looking forward to holiday season and stuff, and I'm looking forward to another upcoming Vikings disappointment soon, and
Yeah.
that's about it, man. I'm just,
Hope-
other than
hopefully
that,
you're
I'm
not
trying
disappointed,
I'm trying to sneak
you
in
know?
time for some Xbox and trying to go snowboarding as much as possible. Too,
Xbox. That is so last decade.
Xbox. I have a PlayStation also that I bought just for The Last of Us Part 2, which
Oh yeah, that was the number 10 slot. on our
finally going to
video
come
game
out,
list.
but has all the makings of SJW propaganda too.
That's
Yeah.
the beauty of it. All right, well, Matt, you keep doing what naturally. We appreciate you helping us out as we're trying to do
Absolutely.
this charity stream for Salvation
We
Army.
appreciate the donation as well.
Yes, that
I'm
is.
glad you guys. That's good on you guys for raising this kind of money, man. This is a good shot. I hope again. Let me know if you reach the goal. I'll be checking in later tonight.
Oh,
But if you reach
100%,
the goal and
I'll
you're
send-
doing the shaving.
I'll send you an
Send me a message.
email, and I'll wait until you're in the chat, or if you want to
Okay.
come on and watch, that's fine.
All
Yeah,
right.
one-
Well, don't. I have some stuff to get done tonight, so don't wait too long on me. But I will check periodically, and if I
All
catch
right.
it, I will join.
Beautiful.
Sounds
Thank you
good.
so much for coming, Matt. We appreciate the time.
Yeah, it's been
Have a
great
good night.
talking to you.
Yep,
Yeah,
see
you as well.
guys.
Matt Christiansen showing up on the show. Everybody's going to think we're cool now.
Yep.
Anavultus,
Yeah.
how has that? How's your book been going, sir? Is that?
Yeah, have you made any sales
Well,
or
I'm not a
anything?
popular guy, so I haven't really seen any sales yet, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Are you marketing? Do you have a marketing team, agent, anything?
I don't have anything. I'm just doing this myself.
Oh, you're finding out is what you're doing.
We'll talk later. We can work out some
Okay,
percentages.
okay. You kicking me
and
off?
No,
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 no, no,
no,
no.
no, no, no,
No,
no,
we weren't
no,
gonna kick
no.
you off.
Okay.
I think we've got a frozen Matt though.
We do, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he left or not.
Go in the
Must be
column,
cold where he
bounce
is.
him out just in case, John.
Am I
Do
able
you
to
know
kick him
how?
out?
Yeah, you should be able to do that. Come on, kick him out.
I've
Everybody
never
wants
kicked
to
anyone
kick.
out before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
kick
of
Matt.
all people, you're going to do it with Matt Christiansen.
I know, right?
You got to drop him from the call, baby. You got to drop him from the call. Because if he's hung up like that, man, he leaves an open door to crazy.
It's true. Yeah, I'm not sure actually how to kick somebody. I've never had to do it before. Oh, there we go. Hang on.
First time I've been on
Um,
stream without my big glasses, so now I can fully articulate.
Oh, there we go. He did
Yeah,
it
it
to
was-
himself.
I was kind of surprised. To be honest with you, that
Well, it's because now my name's official, so I might as well make my face official as well.
Yeah, fair enough, man. I mean, we've already seen your face, but
hasn't your name been official like since you were born? Didn't they put it on your birth certificate? What?
Well, allegedly,
Oh my
allegedly.
allegedly.
Allegedly. I love allegedly.
I'm gonna put your book
John,
link in the description. So if
Yeah.
anyone's interested in Anavultus and his book, I'm putting it in there now. So
and
it'll
then
be thoroughly.
give me a tally as well.
Yeah, 6 people on LinkedIn with the exact same name as mine.
Shut
really?
up.
I'm not joking, and of course, none of them are me. So, yeah.
All right. If you guys refresh, the link is now there, or it should be there. Let me know if it's there or not. Let's get a tally. I'm pretty sure we're at 780 because Matt gave 50 like a good boy. Yes, we are at $780. That is excellent. You guys are cool. I like
Works for
some of
me.
you.
Some
Top-
of you. No,
Top heck.
that's the way to inspire them, John. Hey, folks, if you haven't hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't before, hit the notifications. Make sure that you're plugging us in there. Get us out on social media. We've got a few more hours of this fun madness going on. Looks like we've got
Yes.
about 5 hours left of this 12-hour live stream. We're
Holy
making it
cannoli.
through. We're not dead yet. So as long as we're still kicking, you guys
That's
can
right.
still keep chipping. We need to get that number up to 1,500 because I want to see that beard come off John's face. I want to see it
No.
happen. I just need to see what John looks like underneath that beard.
You'll regret it instantly, but that's all right.
I just want to see how many age lines you've developed under there.
Oh, Seawall just bought your book. There you go.
Thanks, my dude.
Yeah.
See, you come on a
Seawall
very.
is throwing money around today, man.
See,
Donated
this is what
200 to
happens.
and that.
This is what happens when you come on a high-profile.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah, high profile stream.
Yeah, that's right.
I still have more subs than you. No, I'm just teasing,
That's
just
fucked
teasing.
up.
Yeah, and all you did was just point out that you don't share. So I'm
That's
just
right.
saying.
No, he has. He made a video earlier
Yeah.
today about how he was coming on here and all that. I appreciate that
Yeah,
too. Don't think
yeah,
I
it was
didn't go
text to
unnoticed.
speech.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
well, okay. I didn't watch it. I just saw that it was there. I guess I should have watched it. I watched the first time when you said you were going to be on here.
You know,
No, John,
live,
you're
laugh,
such a
grow.
pleb.
Oh God. But
Wow.
yes, what we have planned next is the Cards Against Humanity game that we promised last time we were going to do this.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's happening this time. If we want to get our Freedom Scoop guys in, if you guys are still out there, Anavultus, you're welcome to join us if you would like.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
Played-
dip in a few minutes. I've got a family. Yeah,
All right, fair enough.
yeah, a family
I mean,
to feed me. Yeah.
There you go, even better. Perfect excuse then.
Yeah.
Damn entitled kids.
So yeah,
Big
we're
ogre
also
gotta
going
eat 'em all.
We're also going to throw the password out to a select few of you. So, because we're going to make a room to play Cards Against Humanity. So Steven, Ed, Jake from Freedom Scoop, if you're out there, Seawall, you're welcome to join us as well. Let us know if you want to come on the stream. We'll bring you on, and we'll play some Cards Against Humanity for a little while.
Hey,
Yes, Seawall, you are invited.
did you give me? Do I have that link? I don't know.
You do. If you scroll up in our DMs, you'll find it.
What's the name
I
of the
can
site?
just find it again too. It's like pretend you're XYZ, some shit like that. It's yeah, but it's a Cards Against Humanity clone.
I have to find it in the old chat. Damn it! I hate it when I have to do this.
Okay, but if we're changing the subject of a debate, I'm probably gonna have to write another book then.
God damn it! All right, yeah, that's cool, Seawall. Let's see. Let's update here. We're still at 780. That is awesome. Have you updated your
Of course.
the one up there? All right, cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
John. Tell
Well, I'm gonna dip. So
All right, man.
yeah, not the drugs, but you know, gotta always stay healthy. You know, gotta eat.
That's right. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. That was awesome. Yeah. Hopefully, we'll see you next time. We'll be in talks about another debate. Actually, doing it this time.
All right, all right. Thank you. Have a great time. Remember to donate, everybody.
Yes.
Donate right now, or I will find you,
Uh-oh.
and just politely say, you know, it's fair if you didn't donate, but you know, still might as well, you know, if you can. All right. Thank you. Goodbye.
Now, see,
All right,
that's
guys.
intimidation right there.
Yeah.
That's real intimidation. And